Welcome to Silent Symptoms, a Black mental health podcast. I am your host, Katasso Fridge, a Florida-based therapist. This podcast focuses on mental health, stigmas, and social injustices that affect the Black community. This podcast was created to bring awareness about mental health and can be used as an educational guide, but this is not to be used as a replacement for seeking help from a therapist. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hi, welcome to Silent Symptoms, a Black mental health podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about how the media affects our mental health. The most recent one has been the travel to the Dominican Republic. So I had made a video also about how my time was in the Dominican Republic. So I'm just going to share a little bit about how my time was. So I consider myself the traveling therapist. Like, I travel, I'm always going somewhere because I'm all about cultural appropriation. We have to be able to experience other cultures to become elevated as therapists, as individuals. We learn so much from different cultures instead of staying within the realm of what we know. So I recently went to the Dominican Republic for about a week, and a lot of people were actually worried about me going to the Dominican Republic. Yes, so people were worried about my partner and I and his best friend going to the Dominican Republic because of everything that was on the news. So I'm not going to lie. Initially, I was kind of nervous because we were actually supposed to be going to Jamaica, and then we ended up going to the DR. So when the Dominican Republic came up, there was this huge frenzy about how 10 tourists died from starting January up to about June. And during that time period, people were speculating about what the possibility is of the cause of death of these people. So people were going to the Dominican Republic, they were dying there, or when they got home, they ended up dying. So a lot of people were speculating about what is the cause. So we have to really be thoughtful, and we also have to think about what they said the cause of death was. So America has a way of controlling media. I always tell people we have to stay away from looking at headlines and forming an immaculate opinion about something that we know nothing about. We have this platform called social media. It's a platform. Social media is run by us. We're putting all the information out there for people to see, right? Human beings are on social media throwing information out there. So when we think about social media as a whole, we could try to blame it, but we have to blame the people who are on the platform. So in this instance, the media is America, the people who control all the propaganda that happens in the world. So the media is telling people, do not go to the Dominican Republic, or be careful. Every week they're putting out 7th American tourist dies when they return from the Dominican Republic. Okay, people, I was in the Dominican Republic for 7 whole days. We did all inclusive. We did everything that you could possibly think about. We hung out with the locals. So we weren't confined and constricted to a resort. We're the type of people who want to learn about other people's cultures. We're not going to get constricted because of what people say. So before I went to the Dominican Republic, I read all these headlines, but I'm the type of person who wants to research things. I don't just take what the media tells me and say, this is it. I don't get on social media and look at what other people are saying and bring it into my sacred space and believe it without doing any research. We have got to get away from allowing something that person puts out and let it control our minds. We have to get away from allowing ourselves to get in a state of anxiety and a state of depression and allow the media to control how we move, because we're not going to go anywhere. If we continue to allow the media to put out propaganda without proper research, we're never going to be able to do anything. We will be stuck in the United States of America because that's what we know. Think about all the times that the media says, oh, the south side of Chicago, 10 people are killed this weekend, right? Because you're from Chicago, you're not going to necessarily be scared of what's going on because you know the truth, right? You know that there is violence in your city and you're still able to function. Let's think about, all the violence that happens in Detroit, all the violence that happens in Miami, all the drug addiction that is happening in the United States. But does that define United States as a whole? No. So from being in the Dominican Republic, it has caused such a problem for them to the point where people can't fully function and live their lives properly because some of the people depended on American tourism and tourism from the whole world. Unfortunately, American media is very powerful. If American media puts out something true or false, it's going to circulate the internet to the point where it gets on news outlets and the rest of the world is going to see. So now, when you look at statistics, the Dominican Republic has lost so many tourists. The DR is down 74.9% of tourists because of something that was put out on the internet, on TVs, on the media by the United States, right? So the United States is speculating that it's alcohol. How do we know it's alcohol? There has not been any proven facts to say that, people are dying for this alcohol. We were at an all-inclusive resort and people were drinking alcohol day and night. Mini bar, no mini bar. People were drinking. And another thing that we have learned is that when we got to the Dominican Republic, a lot of American people were going to Dominican people asking for cocaine. Dominican cocaine is uncut. It is pure. It's not the cocaine that you get in the United States that is cut with something. So think about somebody using drugs in a foreign country that they know nothing about. That's a problem right there. So it causes a lot of issues for other people because of poor decision-making skills from our own people. I wouldn't go to a foreign country and try recreational drugs because that could affect my functioning because I'm not from there. I don't know what they put in their recreational drugs. Even if it's just marijuana, why would a tourist come to a foreign country and participate in that? Why is that even necessary? And I think that, a lot of people forget. And then, think about cocaine. Cocaine gets out of your system in 3 days, but it can have long-lasting effects on your body. So by the time your body makes it back to the United States, it looks like, natural causes. This is some real stuff. And when you think about all the people that have come to the Dominican Republic, like when I tell you, when we were there, we met thousands of people, like American people like ourselves who were brave enough to actually leave the country and still go to the DR and see what they're talking about. And we were having the time of our lives. And this is why I stress the importance of doing research, the importance of living a life of being carefree, living a life that is full of research and a wealth of knowledge, because knowledge does not come from stuff that we get from the internet. Knowledge does not come from headlines and people sharing stuff on Twitter. Twitter is a very helpful tool. However, if somebody says 16 people were killed today, we shouldn't be reposting that without researching what they're talking about, right? Because there's more to the story than what meets the eye. And this is part of the situation that the Dominican Republic is going through. When I tell you these people treat American people, all their tourists, like kings and queens, I'm telling you. And people think that, the Dominican Republic, they out here to damage us. What gain do they have? Okay, people may say, they're trying to extend the life of the alcohol. When I tell you there was so much alcohol, there really was no need for them to try to stretch out the alcohol because there's premium alcohol and then there's alcohol that's on the low level. So you have to really think about those things too. They really don't have to spend as much money. And when people pay for all inclusive, it's literally almost $160 a day per person. So they're making thousands of dollars. They're making thousands of dollars every single day. So what gain would the Dominican Republic have by trying to poison people or by trying to kill people? They need those tourists to come by. And I think that sometimes we forget the agenda of people and why somebody would gain something. And we also have to diligently do research. You have to look into things before you repost them, because you're putting out information on somebody else's timeline and you may be putting them in a state of negativity. Sometimes when we scroll through social media, we always have to think about all the things that we want to put out there. Are you putting out negative information? Are you putting out positive information? And if you're putting out negative information, just make sure that it's accurate information so that the next person that comes behind you is not getting garbage. That person is not getting filled with negativity. And if it's negativity, make sure it's for educational purposes. People are out here fighting depression and anxiety and PTSD. Like all kinds of schizophrenia, like all kinds of mental illnesses that could be triggered by negative information. And for those people who struggle with mental illnesses, just make sure before you ingest the information to do research. When I was doing research about the Dominican Republic, I was so happy and relieved because I knew as a person, like think about there are thousands of people that go to the Dominican Republic every single day. Despite this decline, people are still going. And people have died for whatever reason. So we still haven't really found the real reason. So if 10 people have died, think about thousands of people that have already made it to the Dominican Republic by this time. So look at that ratio of people. Because if we continue to do research, we'll find out the Dominican Republic is actually one of the countries that has the least death of tourists. The Dominican Republic cherishes tourism. They're not out here trying to damage American people. And, there are things that we also have to think about what the other people indulging in. And I'm not saying the Dominican Republic had nothing to do with this, but you have to really think. From research, there's no supportive evidence that suggests that people are out here getting intentionally killed. And people are saying, oh, minibar alcohol. People were drinking minibar alcohol, and none of them have died. We were there for a whole week. Nobody was ill. And I'm speaking from my experience, but the media has a way of trying to control how people move forward. We have to be really careful about what we allow the media to tell us. And don't be so quick to repost things without researching. Don't be so quick to say, oh, they said 10 people died. Y'all know this? Okay, they're saying that. But where is the evidence? We have to really look into things like that. It's a very hard road to really think about things. And when you don't protect yourself from negativity, when you don't protect yourself by researching, by reading, when do we get away from reading? We have to really read and, think about the things that we want to do. Because now other countries are putting out travel advisories about the United States, telling their people not to come here. But what would we say? We would say, oh, there's nothing dangerous about the United States. You just have to know where to go, right? Same thing with DR. You have to know where to go and what to stay away from. You can't go to a foreign country and use drugs, or you can't go to a foreign country and go to places you don't know about. That's a smart way to travel. You can enjoy a good time with the locals, but you have to be smart about how you do things. And when I tell you guys, the Dominican Republic, I mean, gorgeous, beautiful. Like, I had the time of my life. Like, I literally needed a vacation from a vacation. That's how great it is. And I'm thinking about, like, what if I would have stayed home and listened to the naysayers? What if I would have stayed home and allowed the media to get in my head and I didn't research all the things that came with what people were saying? I would still be at home. I would have never had the experience to even tell you guys about what I know. I mean, also, when you're in the Dominican Republic, you're drinking all day long, but you have to think. It's the scorching hot sun. If you're not hydrating, you're dehydrating your body. You're getting yourself sick. There's so many factors that go into why people die. People die mysteriously in the United States. People are still getting lynched in 2019 in the United States, in our own backyard. And we have the nerve to be scared to go somebody else's country. We have to be real with ourselves. So are we talking about people getting lynched, or we're finding out information on our own? We're not really getting told about getting lynched. We're not getting told important information. Like yesterday, we just found out that the Amazon has been burning for 3 weeks. The rainforest has been burning for 3 weeks, but people have no idea. And the Amazon rainforest supplies 20% of the world's oxygen, and it's just burning down. But we're not talking about those things that are actually important to our well-being. And this is not being insensitive to those people who actually have been affected by the deaths. But we have to look at the ratio of how many people have traveled to the DR and how many people have survived versus the people that have died. There are a lot of people that go to foreign countries and die. If the media reported on every single one, we wouldn't go anywhere. We'd be stuck in the United States. We probably wouldn't even get out the perimeter of where we live. Because if we report on deaths that happen in our own cities, we wouldn't move. Right? And a lot of people tend to make excuses of us as people in the United States. We have to stop fueling ourselves and other people with misinformation or information that's not researched, or allowing the media to give you propaganda and run with the propaganda. So now you never want to go to the DR, you never want to go to Chicago, you never want to do this, right? You would still go to Chicago even though you know about all the killings, correct? So we have to treat other countries like that. Now, if we hear things from the media, it's okay to say, oh, this is interesting, but you have to read on it. That's what I do, and it's worked out perfectly. And I'm an avid traveler. I'm your traveler therapist. I do this. I'm not just talking, and I would never give you information that is false. Never. So we also have to allow ourselves a little bit of a leeway. We also have to allow ourselves to think about what we're gaining from misinforming people. That's why it's called the news. They tell you what they feel like is necessary to influence your way of thinking. Please do your research, because your mental health is far more important than the next piece of news. Far more important. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Also, listen to me on YouTube. I am on YouTube as well. So if you wanted to listen to me while you're driving, like you have been, but also watch it on YouTube. I haven't done videos in a while, but it's still audio. So you guys have yourself a great day. And if you have questions about the Dominican Republic, any of my travels, anything about mental health, don't be afraid to send me a message and I will definitely respond to you.
Thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. You can catch us on Anchor and all your favorite media streams. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Silent Symptoms Podcast. Let us know if you have any feedback or topics that you would like to hear.